Kia ora koutou, ko neka ho. I'm a UX designer at Boost and I'm honoured to have been part of the creation of Digital Pacific. This was a really interesting project for us as it kicked off during the first COVID lockdown of 2020 and was the first project which we delivered completely remotely. There was a lot of uncertainty for me starting a fully remote project while working from home with a 2-month-old daughter. Since then she's become a lot more helpful. As a UX designer, I need to understand and balance the needs of both the business and end users. Today I wanted to talk about how a co-design approach helps with this and look at some of the design challenges and learnings for a project in a completely remote environment. Two key learnings I want to discuss today are the value of the co-design process and that remote usability testing offers just as much value as in-person testing. In co-design, you design your digital experience with the active involvement of the users and stakeholders to make sure the experience meets the user's needs. At Boost, we work in an agile way. We focus on designing, developing, and testing the slice of software that will deliver the most value for users first, then iterating on that. In the case of Digital Pacific, this was the ability for users to be able to browse and learn more about items. The co-design process worked very well with our iterative approach, and we quickly saw the value of bringing the stakeholders into the design process. It let us check in with our group on a regular cadence and understand what we needed to improve for the next iteration of the experience we were creating together. This also shortened the feedback loop and enabled discussions, questions, and opportunities that may not have presented themselves otherwise. As the designer on the project, this gave me a rich perspective of the problems we were trying to solve and the experience we wanted to create. It let me understand very early on the limitations our users face and what the desired outcomes of the stakeholders and the content partners were. I remember hearing a story from the co-design group about a family member who used to climb to the top of a hill every day so that they could get better reception to use social media and check their emails. The story became a reference point for why performance was so important. It reinforced that one of the biggest limitations we were designing for was limited bandwidth. A large number of users in the Pacific are accessing digital experiences via a slower 3G connection, and it was very important to us that our experience was super lightweight and quick to load. That meant that we viewed all our development and design decisions through a performance lens and built a page size limit into our deployment pipeline. We also undertook usability testing with users in the Pacific remotely via Zoom. Traditionally, I would run usability testing in person face-to-face, but because of the lockdown, this of course was not possible. It was my first time running usability testing remotely, and I was unsure what to expect and if it would be as effective. So I wrote my testing script and scenarios as normal and scheduled some meetings with some end users in the Pacific. I asked them to visit our staging site on their mobile device and share their screen so that I could observe their interactions. I did have to give some users some help to find the control in Zoom to share their screens on mobile, but I found that I gained as much insight as I would have in person. One of the best things about the testing for me was seeing the users' reactions as they browsed the site. I remember how excited and surprised people were when they discovered this taonga they didn't even know existed. So we got two great things out of the testing. One being that we learned what we needed to change to improve the experience, and the other being that we saw the overall impact of the experience and that it was going to be really positive. As we continued to co-design and test our progress with users, we were able to develop and iterate on the experience to make it what it is today, and I'm very proud to have helped to have influenced the direction of this amazing project. The two key things I'd like you to take away today are the co-design process enables design to be informed by a diverse range of perspectives through close collaboration between the project team and key stakeholders. And distance is not a barrier when it comes to usability testing, even with users in the Pacific on slower internet connections. If I were to do this project again, I would try to gather more user insights earlier by getting more Pacific end users along to the discovery workshop. And I'd also try to run user testing even earlier in the project, preferably within the first month of the project kicking off. In a remote project, engaging with key stakeholders and users early and often is always possible, which gives you the knowledge and insight needed to ensure you can successfully achieve your project's goals. If anybody would like to know more about our process on this project or learn more about us, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to answer any questions you guys may have. Kia ora rawa atu, ka kite anō.